Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to From Beyond the Paign and Illinois Basketball Podcast. Guys, welcome. Hit the like button if you're on YouTube. If you're watching on Twitter or my Facebook page, credit to me to putting this shit on my Facebook page, considering that's where all my family is. And I don't necessarily know if I want all my family to know what I'm doing all hours of the day. If you're watching on any of those three platforms, please go to the YouTube page, hit the subscribe button, or at least hit the like button. That way, it at least helps other Illini fans find me. Purdue fans, you're welcome to, mainly only if you're Cubs fans, like my guy, Greg Braggs Jr., who will be joining us in a little bit here in about 14 minutes. Me and Greg work together. Of course, he's going to come on the pod to talk about Illinois and Purdue with me. Everyone knows Greg Braggs Jr. is the biggest insufferable Purdue fan that we know. Is definitely the most insufferable Purdue fan that I know. So, of course, I had to have him come on here to, play it down the middle, because I know that's exactly what he'll do. Basically, we're just two meatballs who are going to probably yell at each other. But, I think he can be a little unbiased for a little bit too. So, yeah. Again, if you're watching on Twitter or Facebook, please come to the YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button or hit the like button. I appreciate y'all. Sid Davis, yo, what's up? Go Cubs. Yes, go Cubs. They need to freaking sign someone, right? You know what else needs to happen? I need the Cubs to sign people, and I need Illinois to win tomorrow. But before we get to Purdue, I do want to talk about some post-game stuff related to Illinois' win over Northwestern. That is why Greg is joining us at 8:15. So I just want to play this clip. This is from Brett Behearns from WCIA Channel 3 in Champaign. And I'm going to try and share my screen here. And I think y'all see this. I believe y'all see this. Okay, here we go. Okay. The main word from the post-game presser is connected. I feel like Brad Underwood, he's sleeping at night and he's thinking, we're connected. This team is connected. That's the vibe I get from Brad Underwood. It feels like every post game. And, it might be coaches speak. It might be whatever. It's always take it with a grain of salt when it comes to these post game pressers or just coaches talking, players talking in between games, whatever. It is almost sometimes take it with a grain of salt. But at the same time, listen, this team's playing well right now, man. I want to know what's going on in the locker room. I want to know how much these guys really love playing together and all that. Like, give me all the content. Give it all to me. Inject it into my bloodstream for sure, right? The Whittler in the chat, huge game. Yes, tomorrow's game is a huge game. I can't wait. So, man, I was on Illini Inquirer today. One of the better Illinois athletics, it's by 24/7 Sports. It's not a blog. It's a media outlet. They're one of the better. They cover Illinois better than I think anyone else in Champaign. I was reading an article from Joey Wagner, which, by the way, I used to work with him. Not so sure that guy likes me, but credit to me for giving him credit. Either way, we used to work together, and he wrote a really good article today about we call it, like Illinois being connected and how they enjoy being around each other and stuff like that. He also kind of gave us an update on Terrence Shannon Jr.'s suspension, which is no surprise. He's not going to play tomorrow. Like there's just no way that Terrence Shannon Jr. is going to play tomorrow. And so this is what is written in this article. It says there's been no official change to Shannon's status. He's scheduled for a court appearance at 3 p.m. on January 18th in Douglas County, Kansas, which we already knew, right? We already knew that. Illinois Athletic Director Josh Whitman said last week a 3-person UI conduct panel appointed by the Chancellor's office and operating independently of the athletic department must review the suspension within 48 hours, though Whitman didn't give a clear timeline on when that panel will make the decision. So basically, it's just I feel like it's been the 48 hours. Like I think it has been, but they're basically just making that decision whenever they want to make that decision. At least that's what it feels like. Brad Underwood said on Thursday. One thing I think Josh made pretty clear was we'd let you guys know if there's any updates on any of that. I'll stick to basketball and getting ready for Purdue. And you know what? I'm perfectly fine with that. I really don't want Brad Underwood and anyone on the roster having to answer questions or anything. Like I understand they asked Brad Underwood about this anyway, so he's gonna have to answer a question ever so often, but just having nothing to do with how the process goes, it makes it very easy for him. And I think that in a way helps the team just continue to do what they got to do. And that's focus on the next game. Right. So obviously, I think the team would have a better chance to win tomorrow against Purdue if they had Terrence Shannon Jr. But I do think that they have a chance against Purdue. I saw on the books, everyone, if you know me, knows that I'm a gigantic degenerate. You would know that I like to lay some money on some games, right? I saw Illinois opened as a 9.5-point underdog against Purdue. I don't know about it. I was a little surprised. I thought it'd be like 6.5. I don't know. If I could bet it, I'd hammer Illinois to cover. I think it's going to be a single digits game personally. So 9.5, it's a lot of points. Get it while you can before it comes down. I think a lot of bets will be coming in on Illinois. Anyway, related to this article again, I think that it's just really good to see a lot of the players supporting each other and them being connected. It kind of like the way that Brad Underwood describes it to me is it's not like any other team he's ever described. I feel like I don't even think he described the 2020, 2021 Illini team that was a number 1 seed like this. I feel like when he talked about that team, he would call that team like something more like a better, a one of the best put together teams or something that he has put that he has had play for him or something like that. But like I don't remember him ever really saying that they're just connected. And when he says that they're connected, it's just like they all like playing with each other. They all understand the goal. They all have the same goal. They all want to win. They're not selfish, all these things. And I feel like you can see that in the game. It's not like, even when Terrence Shannon Jr. was out there, it's not like he was out there and just shooting the ball 30 times a game or anything, like taking all the shots. They were moving the ball. Everyone else was getting involved too. I think that they share the ball better than any team I've seen in the Brad Underwood era. They play fast. They're one of the best defensive teams in the country. They're one of the best rebounding teams in the country. And that they are a mismatch nightmare. So, yeah. Brandon B in the chat. TSJ ... back tomorrow. I don't think so, man. Unless I'm missing something. We're live right now, so I'll have to go and find out. But send me the link. Send me the link if this is actually true. I don't think he's back tomorrow, man. So let's see what other chats we got. We got Sid Davis says we need to play 2 good halves tomorrow. Yeah, that's another thing too. I feel like this team's played like they haven't had one really good half and then a bad half. They've played a good 40 minutes. Let's see. I believe Harmon is a wild card. Is the wild card, dude? Justin Harmon. These last 2 games, he's been, he's probably been the one who's got the most out of the situation, right? Brad Underwood talks about how he's worked really hard and it's just paying, like the hard work is paying off for him. He's just getting an increased opportunity to play. I mean, he played like 30 minutes the other night, 20 points off the bench. I mean, they're deep. They're a deep team, man. Imagine when Gibbs Lawhorn starts, kind of coming into his own. I think he's going to get more run as the season comes along. Think about when Moretti comes back. I mean, he's been hurt the last, it feels like a month now, right? They're a deep team, right? They're a very deep team. And I keep telling myself I got to take a step back. But I'm also like, man, we're going into Mackey Arena tomorrow night with house money. House money going into Mackey Arena tomorrow night with house money. Purdue, the number 1 team in the country. Everyone got the target on them. I know how this works. Illinois was once the number 1 team in the country just a few years ago, or at least top 5. I don't remember if they were number 1 throughout the season. Number 1 seed. They were one of the best teams. I understand how that process works. They're going to have a target on them. 9.5-point favorites. I think it's going to be close. I feel like Illinois matches up well. I think they can at least hang around. We'll see if they win. I'll dream about it. I'll talk myself into it after I watch Illinois and Wake Forest from 2004 on my flat screen TV tonight. I'll dream about it, wake up tomorrow, talk myself into it. This is how I do things. I just know who I am. All right. Brandon says, don't gamble on this one. I can't. In the state of Illinois, you can't bet on teams in the state of Illinois, which pisses me off, like college teams at least. It's one of the dumbest laws in the state. So, yeah, that's kind of my vibe right now going into tomorrow night's game. What was it? In this article, Joey, he mentions something about, yes, okay. So Friday's game against Purdue will be the first time Illinois has been in a game between 2 AP top 10 teams since the 4-game stretch in March of 2021, where they went to Michigan, went to Ohio State, hosted Iowa, and hosted Ohio State again. So, and I kind of remember that stretch vaguely, at least. The Big Ten was really good that year. And yeah, I mean, this is a statement type game, right? Like if you're on the Purdue side, you are thinking if we win this game, we're running away with this conference, right? If Illinois somehow wins this game, it's a 2-team race. Illinois currently has a better record than Purdue in the conference right now. Illinois hasn't lost a conference game. Purdue lost to Northwestern. So Illinois is technically ahead of them right now. So this, like, there's it outside of just like, the fact that it's number 1 versus number 9 this week. Like outside of just like the 2 top 10 teams playing against each other and it being a conference game, like this is actually huge for conference implications because this conference is weak this year. And I feel like it's a 2, maybe 3-team race. Like Wisconsin has been impressive. They impressed me again the other night. If you've been watching, you know that I'm not high on Iowa. They handled Iowa. They didn't go under. I thought that they would go under because I thought Wisconsin's defense was better, but beside the point. So I thought their offense was impressive against Iowa. And I know everyone's offense looks impressive against Iowa, but I've been impressed by Wisconsin, at least more so than any other team outside of Purdue and Illinois. So I think it's a 3-team race at best right now, but for sure, like for regular season conference standings, this is a huge game tomorrow. Z Paulson says house money is a bad look if we lose by 20 plus. Yes, I agree. And sure, Purdue absolutely could, right? it's hard to go to Mackey Arena and win, bro. It's hard to go there. And so I'm trying not to get too hyped about it because we've had some bad experiences there, but I feel like this Illinois team is just a little bit different than previous seasons. We'll see. What else we got here? Dude, if Illinois doesn't win, Bragg's going to be miserable to be around. Well, good thing I won't see Braggs until like Monday. But he'll probably be miserable on Twitter, and that's just what he is. You gotta take your lumps with Greg Braggs Jr. I love him, but I hate him. I told him this after the Cubs didn't sign Ohtani. I told him that I loved him, and then I told him that I hated him because he talked me into Ohtani. Brandon also said we need a big game from Danger. Yeah, if he gets more than 4 minutes, he hasn't played more than fucking 5 minutes in a game. However, he's probably the biggest guy they got. Maybe they'll use him for fouls to try and guard Edey some. So, yeah. My guy's here. I guess I'll let him in.
Yeah, you will let me in. You're going to show some respect to the number one team in the country.
I've been showing all kinds of respect for the last 16 minutes, Greg Braggs.
There's absolutely nothing that can go wrong with all the shit talking I'm about to have here on this show tonight.
Oh, I didn't. I had no feeling at all that you would come here and just talk shit the entire time. I didn't expect that at all. Braggs.
Not of my nature. I don't know.
Not at all.
Yeah, no.
All
so
right.
How are
Braggs.
you? How are you?
I am cautiously optimistic about this game tomorrow.
Oh, ready to be hurt again, are we?
Yes. Now, have you seen the spread?
No, I have not.
Purdue's a 9.5 point favorite. Do you think are you surprised by that?
That seems a little large. It seems a little large.
I thought so too. I thought it should have been more like 6.5.
Yeah, it seems a little large. It's hard to say how those end of games will go, but in years past, Purdue plays up and down to their competition, as we all know. In March, you can save your March jokes for later. I know you were thinking it. So yeah. So, but
go ahead.
But this year, they have had a little bit more of a killer's mentality. Arizona, they looked like they were about to run them off the court, and then Arizona came back, got back in it, and they were down like 20 or 17, and then they went on a run to make it a game at the end, and then even still, Purdue pulled away at the end. So, at Mackey, I'd probably, I don't know how you guys phrase it, but I would say it's going to be closer than a 9.5 point win for the Boilers. I think it'll be a closer game than that.
Braggs is saying Illinois will cover tomorrow. Thank you. All right. Gambling aside, I do feel like it'll be a single digit game. So 9.5, like less than 10 points. Yeah, I do think it'll be close. Even last season, with all the turmoil surrounding Illinois lost by single digits at Mackey Arena against Purdue. Like I understand that, like, Terrence Shannon Jr. is not going to play in this game, but man, just based off what they did against Northwestern, and I don't know how you feel about Northwestern, but they beat you guys, and right. I think Northwestern's a tournament team, a top 5 team in the conference. The fact that those guys came to Champaign and not only lost, but lost by 30. I know this could be a possible massive letdown spot for Illinois now, but I don't know how it can be a letdown spot for them considering how big this game is. Everyone knows how big this game is in terms of conference standings, AP poll rankings, tournament seeding, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't see a letdown coming from Illinois here. So I do think it'll be close. And I do think that, if they can somehow, some way, just kind of, I don't know how you do it because he's clearly the best player in the country, but they got to sustain Zach Edey somehow, some way. And I think because they kind of the way they play. They play fast. They play. They play. They have athletic big men. Like Coleman Hawkins is like a matchup nightmare for someone like Zach Edey because
absolutely
he's three. So, what are your thoughts on him and Coleman Hawkins? Like, I feel like Coleman Hawkins is going to be on him most of this game if he's not in foul trouble.
Yeah, well, that's going to be the key is on the other end. But you're 100% right. A guy like this presents problems for Zach. A guy that can stretch him out to the 3-point line. Zach's going to give him that shot more times than not. So if he's hitting them, and we've seen this here in the past with Illinois, that's going to keep him in it. I will say, though, when it comes to the transitive properties you're trying to use with Northwestern, I get it. Common opponent. You guys smoked them. We lost to them. But you got to keep in mind, Boo Booey had 31 points and 0 turnovers in that game. Yeah. I think that might be the best game he plays all year. That game also went to overtime. He had no turnovers the entire game. Ryan Langborg had 20 points. Ty Berry had 21 points. Langborn, that might be his best game of the year as well. So, Purdue also turned the ball over a lot. So if you guys are trying to pull the upset, you guys are going to have to use your physical guards to put Purdue's guards in binds and get them to turn the ball over. So the closer you can get that turnover margin to 15, 20, I think they average around 12 turnovers a game, but the closer you can get that number to 20, the more that Purdue will be on upset alert. But as far as Coleman Hawkins, he does present a lot of problems. Matt Painter was talking about it today during open practice. We shared a little video on our Boilers in the Stands Twitter account. If you guys want to go check it out and hear Matt Painter's thoughts, A, on Coleman Hawkins, and B, kind of some of the new guys that are starting to step up here these last couple games for Purdue, for Illinois, I should say. That have been, guys that Matt Painter's earmarking as far as who they've got to, worry about now that, Terrence Shannon is out. So, they've got their radar up. This is the first top 10 matchup since 2010 at Mackey Arena, believe it or not. So
really? Wow.
Yeah. So this doesn't happen that often. Obviously with everything going on with Terrence Shannon's not good. Just from a strictly basketball standpoint, you'd want both rosters loaded up for a game like this, but I don't think that that's going to make Purdue, look short of them. And now that they've played a few games with this new lineup and rotations, I think that's going to also better prepare Purdue for how you guys are going to play now too. So it'll be interesting to see the chess match that goes down tomorrow night, but the house is going to be rocking.
Yeah, I see. I'm assuming he's a big fan of you, Braggs. It's Matt Painter's second chin. He's in.
I've never heard of this guy, but this is great.
He's in the YouTube chat and he's asking, I'm wondering if Underwood has ever beat a top 10 team, and I'm here to confirm that he has. He has done that before. So I just want to make sure that he knows that. Also, it's a great name. I will never slander Matt Painter. Mainly because he is a Cubs fan. That's literally it. And I do respect him as a coach. He is a good coach. I'm not here. The only coach I'm here to slander is Fran McCaffrey. And that's it. So big of me.
Big of you for sure. Some of the guys that he was mentioning, Justin Harmon was one of them. Ty Rogers, just talking about his physicality. Where did Justin Harmon go to high school? I covered him in high school.
I'm not sure where he went to high school. He's just a transfer from like Utah Valley, I believe.
No, I know he went high school. Let me look this up because I covered him. I watched him.
He's from Indiana.
No, he went to Curry. He went to Curry. Okay. I watched him win a big game at Northwestern's basketball stadium when he was in high school. He's a hell of a player.
Yeah,
he's had what 20 points the last 2 games. So that was somebody that Matt Painter earmarked as far as being on their radar. So it'll be interesting to see how he does here tomorrow
Yeah,
night.
I completely forgot that. Yeah, he's a Chicago kid.
Yeah,
I
he's a
should have
Chicago
thought.
kid. I watched him play more than a few times, dude. I
Yeah.
watched him be. To me, there's nothing better as far as high school basketball in Chicago, and I watched him do some true battles. The other one, obviously, that's going to be interesting is watching the Southern Illinois kids go up against each other, Marcus
Yeah.
Damask and Lance Jones. It's like you watch these guys play and the impact they're having for each of our teams. It's like, damn, how the hell was Southern Illinois not even better than? I mean, I know they were a scrappy team, but I'm surprised they weren't some kind of tournament darling with those two guys because Damask is a real threat. Lance Jones has been great for Purdue and exactly what they need in a wing that not just brings it offensively and has really no fear to shoot or drive and has some different moves, but defensively Lance Jones is a real problem for whoever's team's best guard. He can get on your best guard and lock him down the length of the court. So Lance has been God sent for this team, and I think he's going to be a big difference for Purdue when they get to March. So the Southern Illinois matchup is something I'm going to be watching tomorrow night for sure.
Would you say that you've been pleasantly surprised by his impact on Purdue's team?
Well, last year they had a guy come in named David Jenkins, and so every year they get a guy like this, and they're solid, they're veterans, but he's been their best addition so far. I think he's fit the most naturally for what they needed. Mm-hmm. His deep, everybody always wants to see what you can do on the offensive side of the ball. But his defense is what has really stood out. Like he's scrappy. And again, in that Northwestern game, he fouled out of that game. I think either right at the start of overtime or right before overtime. And that was a big difference in the game for Purdue losing that. So, he gets in it. That just goes to show you in a game like that, like he wasn't afraid to rack up the fouls because he's going to play you aggressively. So, I mean, yeah, I guess I have been surprised just how much of an impact, but you could see it right away, because with this Purdue team, with how they lost to Fairleigh Dickinson, which is always going to be hanging over this particular team's head, but just the way they've lost in the tournament the last 3 years, which not everybody on this team has been there for all three, but certainly the last one, they play hesitant. When they lose, they're turning the ball over and they're playing scared. Mm-hmm. And Lance Jones doesn't play with fear. And so that's a great thing to have on this team, is a guy that is capable of putting up 10, 11 shots, maybe, isn't shooting great, but isn't afraid to take that next shot, So that's what he brings to the table offensively. And I think in this role, like, cause Mark Silverman, Sylvie from ESPN 1000, I was talking to him. He's a big SIU guy, and he was warning me, like, you're going to have games where you love him and you're going to have games where you hate him, where he goes 0 for 11. Well, on this team, he doesn't have the ball as much as he did at SIU. So he never is really going to, maybe, knock on wood, it'll be tomorrow night that it happens, but it's just rare that he's going to run it into an opportunity where he puts it up and he's 0 for 11 in a game, because Purdue runs 10 deep. They've got so many guys. And at the very back end of their bench is Camden Heide and Miles Colvin, who get very limited minutes, but on other teams, even in the Big Ten, they'd be getting a lot more minutes. So, if he's having an off night, they're going to put in somebody else and try to find, the right configuration for who's got it. So he's been perfect for this roster, and he's been really disciplined in his shot selection and a great leader and just a positive energy to the locker room as well.
Yeah. I asked that question because Marcus Damask has been a surprise to me. Obviously now with Shannon out, he's kind of become the 1 or 2 option. But when Shannon was here, when he was playing, obviously Shannon was your first option. But I felt like it was, after that, it was kind of just a mix of Quincy Guerrier, Coleman Hawkins, and then Marcus Damask. And Damask would impact the game outside of scoring. I think he's a great defensive, wing. He's shown that he can be versatile offensively. I don't know how much you watched against Northwestern, but Illinois took full advantage of the size that they had on Northwestern. It felt like every time down the floor, it seemed like Damask would, if he was bringing the ball down the court, sometimes he would go straight to the post and just take advantage of the fact that Boo Buie is not nearly as big as him.
Right.
And so it was him and Ty Rodgers that would do that. Ty Rodgers probably would have done it more if he didn't get 2 quick fouls in the first half. But I guess what I'm saying is that, yeah, I don't know how SIU was not like a tournament darling or something.
Seriously.
We need to hit up our guy Luis Medina and be like, what the hell happened to SIU last year?
Right. They must have had no post play.
Yeah,
I mean, something. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. And that's the thing, like you talk about taking Boo Buie down, towards the rim, and so I'm sure that's what they're gonna try to do with Fletcher Lawyer and Braden Smith.
Yeah.
And there'll be that chess match there. Braden, I think, is pretty scrappy defensively. You can take advantage of Fletcher Lawyer at times, but he always knows where he's supposed to be on the court. Braden on the other side of the ball, I've been talking to you about this all year. If Purdue's going to slay the dragon and win the national championship, it's going to be because he plays the way he has so far this year. You saw it if you watched the Maryland game or if you watched that Arizona game, which to me was the biggest example of the evolution of Braden Smith in his sophomore year, but he is playing at a level that is so impressive. His confidence and swagger about him, and he's playing under control. His mid-range game is top shelf. He's not making too many mistakes passing the ball, and he's a guy that really sees the whole court really well, shooting the three pretty consistently. I mean, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but he's been just unbelievable. And then Fletcher Lawyer is always, capable of putting 30 on you. He kind of goes up and down at times, but it seems like Fletcher Lawyer's biggest games are always against the best teams they play. So, with the top 10 matchup tomorrow night, being at home against Mackey, I'm sure they're going to see a few go down more so than maybe if it was at Illinois tomorrow night. So, it's exciting, as Purdue fans, you're always a little guarded this time of year because Purdue the last 3 years has done this and they've been at the top of the food chain now. I mean, they're one of, only 8 teams in the history of the NCAA men's basketball to be, number 1 in the country 3 years in a row. They're the first Big Ten team in the history of the Big Ten to be number 1 3 years in a row. That's crazy.
Yeah.
More Michigan State, with Magic Johnson and none of those at the IU days, and they're the first to ever do it. So they're putting themselves in an echelon that is saved for the teams that have won a national. The one stat where I said, they're one of 8 teams in all of college basketball to ever have 3 straight years of being number 1. There's only 2 teams on that list that haven't won a national championship, and that's Gonzaga and Purdue. So they're putting themselves in a category that shows that they're knocking on the door, and the March results don't reflect it. And so they're still kind of looked at as, the loser Purdue guys, but they're putting themselves in a category with, Duke and Kentucky and UCLA. That, like, every stat I see every week when they do something that's never been done in the school before, the other schools that have are these great blue blood schools. So
yeah,
to me, it's going to be interesting to see. It's to me, it's just kind of like and this is where I think me and you can relate, because I compare Purdue a lot to the Cubs. They feel like the Cubs. They're this like cursed team, and they have all this pressure on them, and the Billy Goats walking around Mackey Arena at all times, and the fans are like terrified of any kind of success, and nobody knows how to handle it and are afraid of their own shadows. But the Cubs eventually won it because they had a team that stopped caring about that stuff. And you just knew it, you could feel it. And so Purdue fans are constantly looking for those signs. Are these the guys? And so with the way Braden has been playing with this chip on his shoulder, he's talking a lot of shit this year. Like I told you earlier, Lance Jones isn't afraid to take a shot or drive the rim or really get after you defensively. Zach Edey is who he is. I mean, we've spent all this time and we haven't even talked about Zach Edey because it's just gotten to a point where you know what you're going to expect from him.
Yeah.
I think they're getting closer to knocking on that door, but at the end of the day, it's a one and done tournament and just kind of got to hope and pray.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I know I gave you a ton of crap after what happened in March last year, but that's only because that's just what fans do. And I got the same amount of crap too when Illinois lost to Loyola in 2021. And my only excuse I have for that is that I think Loyola should have been seeded higher. But either way, that team should have beat Loyola and they should have at least been in a Sweet 16 team at the very least that year. But that's like the pressure that comes in March. Usually the teams that get past it or go deep are older teams, experienced teams. And, I won't say that luck isn't necessarily a thing, but sometimes some teams get seated in certain parts of the bracket and you're like, they earn that. Or maybe the committee just really liked them. And maybe that's just my own conspiracy theory. But I think those are the three biggest things. And so I think that Purdue has that. You have a year off of an embarrassing finish to last year. I also think that Illinois has a little bit of that. They're an experienced team. I think, another thing that I didn't mention is guard play. I think both teams have great guard play. I could see both these teams. If Purdue continues to be the number one team in the country for the next 2 months, I could easily see them be the number one team or one of the number one seeds in the tournament. I think Illinois is at least a 3 seed by the time we get to March. So whatever, I'm fine with anything like that because I didn't expect it coming into the year. But I think both teams kind of have similar expectations at this point now. And for me personally, I had low expectations for Illinois coming into the year, but I think maybe the team coaching it felt different. They changed a lot. Me and you talked a lot last year about the turmoil surrounding Illinois, and I feel like they've kind of, I guess, taken the steps to remove that. And I know this Terrence Shannon thing is, it in some aspects is a distraction, but I like the way that Illinois is handling it in terms of just letting. In terms of the team not having anything to do with it. They don't really speak on it, whatever. So I think that at the end of the day, both these teams are going to be at the top, the top two in the Big Ten. And because this conference sucks this year, in my opinion. And I think that because of that, could be good and bad. It could be good because it feels like every single year this conference is competitive and then we just beat up on each other. And that's why we end up getting kicked in the first weekend. Right? You know this.
Yep.
I feel like it could be bad because you're not being battle tested on your way to March. So we're going to see how it plays out. But I think for me to, I guess, kind of close this out with you, my friend, I think Illinois, if they can kind of do, I don't think they're going to be able to do it as easy as they did against Northwestern, but if they're able to body up their guards, if Damask and Ty Rogers are able to body up Purdue's guards, go down to the post, create double teams that lead to passes to guys cutting, guys like Quincy Guerrier, guys like Coleman Hawkins to the hoop, stuff like that. Unless Zach Edey is right there to, block a shot or whatever. Who knows? I'm just saying, I think that the style play they played against Northwestern, they won't be able to do it the entire game, but I think if they're able to do some of it early, it might kind of set the tone and help Illinois get their game going from the outside because they have been shooting the three a lot better this year. But I feel like they've been able to get to the basket early, and that's opened up the 3-point game for them as the game goes along. So we'll see, because this will be like, I thought the game against Northwestern was a huge test, and I still think it was, and they passed it flawlessly. Now they got to play the number one team in the country. They're 3-19 or something like that all time against number one teams in the country. Last time they beat a number one team was your favorite team, or was against your favorite team, Indiana, in 2013.
Yep, I remember that game well. On the layup, I saw you share the highlight too. But I do remember that game very well. Yeah, Jed Wilkinson's in the chat. He works for Hammer and Rails, a good outlet for Purdue coverage, and he said earlier that Illinois is the 18th ranked adjusted defense team, according to Ken Pom. And he'd be surprised if Purdue scores more than 81 points. And I think at the end of the day, it always seems to come down to how they're going to call Edey, because it's a war of attrition depending on how deep your roster goes. And I'm sure with Terrence Shannon, it's getting even thinner. With Terrence Shannon not being there, it's getting even thinner. And Purdue just racks up the fouls. I mean, that's what they do. And, they had a game in Maui where I think both teams shot like 80 free throws combined. It was ridiculous. But that game, the refs decided they were just going to call everything, because that's what it turns into. If they're not going to call it for Zach, then they almost trade it off on the other end. They don't call anything on the other side. And then but then the coaches and the players and the fans all start freaking out on the refs. So it becomes, do they react to that? Do they start calling things? Or, and it always seems to come down to that. So, another way that Illinois could make this a game is if the refs decide they're just going to let them play, so to speak. But if they start calling fouls, well, Purdue has just got the big man there that's going to get more fouls than anybody else on the court. He has that kind of gravity attached to him. So, to me, that's going to be a big key, is just those first 4 minutes and how that goes. So, I know a lot of people think Zach gets away with a lot, and, you can argue the 3 second in the lane at times. I see coaches begging for it. They don't call 3 seconds on many people in the whole country, but Zach, I think, stands out to more because he's just so damn big. So he's definitely camped out down there, but at the same time, Zach is fouled every time he goes down the court. Every single time he posts up, it's not a question. He is fouled by the letter of the law. It's just a matter of if they're going to call it. And so he plays through a lot more contact than even Kofi did, and I know Kofi got hacked quite a bit.
He did.
But Kofi also had that chicken wing he liked to administer too. So big guys, they get away with a little more certain ways. Oh yeah, Kofi had the chicken wing. But Zach, sometimes he's done a good job of, like, the last 2 years of staying out of foul trouble, because he stays north and south, because he would get in trouble a lot, elbowing guys trying to turn and go towards the hoop. So he's been much better at that, but he's, obviously he'll run into a foul or two at times when guys, obviously they collapse on him as soon as the ball is thrown into him. You got to double them, triple them, and force guys to prove they can make it from the outside. But like I said, you got Braden and Fletcher in their sophomore year being more consistent so far, showing some veteranship to their game, and Lance Jones bringing that. He's just such a key, because you can't guard everybody. And if Lance is going to be open and knocking down threes, it becomes a backbreaker. So I'm excited. Are you going to go to the game, or are you just going to watch from home? Are you sure?
I'm just going to watch from home. Yeah.
I might have a ticket for you if you want to go. It's last chance.
Oh, man.
But it's a long trip for you. I know. I understand that. Like for me, it's an hour from my house. So if you really want to come, speak now. Forever hold your peace. Meet me where I meet my mom. Mom and I are driving up there. You can come with me if you want. Unless my mom sold the ticket, you can ride with us.
Are you gonna go and like be like the media guy at Purdue, or are you going as a fan?
I do both.
God damn,
I do both, like I always do. So I know it's a long trip for you, but the offer is on the table, Cody. I do have a ticket for you if you want to come. I told you they would have approved your credential.
I know.
I guarantee they would have. They're great over there. So, but yeah, I do got to do some work too. Got to keep the troops entertained.
Well, the thing is deciding. It's like, I've been doing live streams during the games for every big
release. That's true.
So I've been doing that, and then like I wanna do things like we do at CHGO, where it's like as soon as the game is over, I want to do post game. It's like I go to the game, I can't do that just based off like what I have, and it's just me, and like just trying to build something right now because I needed an outlet to complain about my favorite college basketball team. So yeah, that's kind of the way I'm weighing it right now, Braggs. I would love to go, but I think because of how big this game is,
You know what you should do is, we're twins right now. We're in our CHGO,
We are.
hoodies.
We are.
When Purdue plays at Illinois,
Mhm.
you should get a credential through CHGO. I guarantee they'd give you one, and then I'll meet you there, and then we can try to do something.
Actually, that's a great idea. Actually, so
I'm full of great ideas. And so I think that would be a lot of fun. I enjoy going to Champaign.
We can go to Fat Sandwich. I know that you know about Fat Sandwich.
No, I don't know about Fat Sandwich.
Oh, it's just like this. It's like a campus, like late night place. These giant ass, like I don't know, like just Google it. Like it's like a burger on steroids.
Well, all right, it better be good because the Northwestern people they talked up this wings spot. There's a spot with wings near Northwestern that everybody loves.
I worked in Evanston.
Lawrence was like, you got to go to whatever the hell it was, and it was just wings. It wasn't even anything that special.
I would have told you to go to Bat 17 in Evanston. And that's not even really right.
Buffalo Joe's. Like, gotta go to Buffalo Joe's. We go there. There's this crazy line. You're like, okay, the vibes are right. And then we got the wings. I mean, they were good, but wasn't anything like, oh my God, this is earth shattering. But everyone in Northwestern, it was like they had never seen a wing before. So
yeah,
the Fat Sandwich probably will supersede my
it's definitely like my guy Greg Huss in the chat saying drunk food for champions is Fat Sandwich. That's but like if you want actual good food, I think it's Black Dog, I think is what it's called. It's like a ribs place.
Okay.
That's far and away my favorite spot in Champaign to go to. And I don't even think it's technically on campus either. So I don't have to deal with all those dumb college kids. But
yeah. So anyway. Well, I mean, we can go all night and I like talking about food for sure, but talking about this matchup too. I'm excited for it. See how it all plays out. Obviously, I want to kick your ass. So
I know.
Because then Herb Lawrence has from CHGO, he's got this little delivery that's always pissing me off too. So I know if you guys win, he'll be talking shit too. So
he talks more trash than I do.
Yeah, he talks a lot of trash. So we'll see.
For a guy who likes the White Sox and Illinois, I mean, as an Illinois fan, I can sit here and confirm that we don't have a lot to talk trash about. I will only be able to talk trash about the fact that Illinois was, I think in 04-05 was the greatest team to never win the national championship. If you had to rank the teams that didn't win the national championship, I will die on the hill that they had the greatest team to never win the national championship. And then I will die on the hill that Brad Underwood is an elite coach in college basketball. Those are the two.
I've had my doubts with Brad Underwood, but he has looked good this year, getting everybody together. And I know last year was kind of a tumultuous year with some of the guys you had there. So I'll give him some credit. I've always been a little skeptical of his in-game coaching. I think Matt's very good in-game with some of his stuff and his system that he runs. So we'll see. Definitely a battle of the coaches. If I was Brad Underwood, I was calling Brad Johnson. If I was Brad Underwood, I would probably go small. I don't know if I'd have Dane Danger and Coleman on the court at the same time. Maybe try to split them up, go small. If you guys are knocking down threes, maybe that would get Purdue to change their rotations a little bit. Because right now, with the Boilers playing Edey and Trey Kaufman-Renn starting, then we can kind of you're kind of playing into our hands. I feel like if you have Danger and Coleman Hawkins out there at the same time, but if you switch them up and then go small, that might get Purdue chasing a little bit, but you got to knock down your threes.
Yeah, I mean, it's been I don't think Hawkins and Danger have spent a lot of time on the court together, but at the same time, Danger has his minutes have completely dipped. Now, they haven't had to play a team that has a guy the size of Zach Edey.
Right.
So I feel like he's going to get more run in this game, but I think if he's on the court, I think it's whenever Coleman Hawkins is off the court. I don't think they'll both be out there at the
Okay.
same time.
Yeah, I haven't
opinion.
watched a couple of Illinois games, but not all. So I wasn't sure how much your rotations had that in there. But like I said,
you said Purdue's 10 deep. Illinois went.
Yeah, I mean,
they went 8 deep the other night against Northwestern in a game.
They have 10. They have 10 guys they'll play, but you know they're not. Every one of them isn't getting minutes. There's always like a couple guys that end up being the odd man out. Like last game, I don't think Miles Colvin barely got any run, but then there's other games where Miles Colvin will get 7-8 minutes. It just kind of depends on the game. So they just have quality depth is the point, and you guys. Like, I feel like you're probably more close to 6 or 7 guys deep, so It becomes a war of attrition. So the first half might be close. And then the more we lean on you, that's what happened with Alabama. Like they made like 21 threes. And at first I was like, how are we going to keep up with these guys? Well, then the second half rolls around and Purdue just keeps leaning on you, getting the fouls, keeping it, just chipping away. And it becomes a numbers game as far as who's got to come off for foul trouble and rotations get kind of messed up. So Purdue just always seems to win those wars of attrition when it comes to that. So we shall see. Yeah. I'm excited.
Yeah, I've loved reading this YouTube chat during our conversation because it's just like a mix of Illinois and Purdue fans just like yelling at each other.
This Matt Painter second chin, he was saying something earlier like, "Oh, Braggs can show up for Cody's show, but not his own." And I guess I haven't been in my show enough this year because I don't remember seeing him in our chat very often. But I have. It's been hard. I'm sorry. Yeah. Mr. Second Chin, but we're busy at CHGO Sports trying to take over the world. So I've been leaning heavily on Craig and Joe, who do a much better job breaking the game down. I'm kind of more the vibes guy, fan in the stands that has the meatball takes. Yeah. No different than my role with the Bears at CHGO. So you met Craig and Joe at the Cubs game last year.
Yeah, I was going to say, we met them.
I almost sent them the link just to bring them on so that I didn't look stupid with our representation of Boilers in the stands coming on here. But I figured I did. I almost sent them the link. Like, help me out here, guys.
Yeah, man.
I know how closely those guys follow it. And, with Bears season still going on, it's kind of like I do everything I can. Obviously, I watch every game, but I'm not dialed in like I am once we start to get into the thick of Big Ten play and football seasons beyond us. So tomorrow is going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait for it. And if Purdue loses, I'm not going to speak to you next week.
Fair. Big of me for what I'm about to say. I already said one nice thing about Purdue, and that I like Matt Painter because he's proved to be a very consistent coach over the years. And also mainly, and about 90% only reason is that he's a Cubs fan. Other guy, Purdue basketball radio guy, listens to CHGO Cubs. So I'm a big fan of him. So
Bobby Riddell, former Boiler too. And Matt Painter is a season ticket holder with the Cubs.
Yeah. So at least there's a lot of Cubs fans at Purdue. I'll say that much.
That's true. So I appreciate you having me on. Let's try.
Are you gonna let me on Braggs or Boilers in the stands and whenever I guess when Illinois and Purdue play in Champaign?
Of course. Okay. You're always welcome. Yeah, you're always welcome on our show. But let's try to collab on something for when Purdue plays at Illinois. We'll both go down there and we'll try to do something up.
I like that idea, man. So hopefully we're top 2 still by then, and it's a even bigger game than this.
Well, you got to keep up with us, kid.
I think we will. I feel pretty good about it. I do. All right.
Yes, sir.
It's good to see you. Have a fantastic weekend. I hope.
How about you get us Cody Bellinger or something? Make yourself useful. All right.
I'm working on it, man. I'm literally doing therapy sessions, Twitter Spaces every night, bro. Every night it feels like. All right, I'm trying.
Practice. All right, try harder.
All right, bro. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too. Later, guys.
See you. Okay. Before we get out of here, man, thanks to Braggs for coming on. I love that guy. Imagine if he was a Iowa fan, then I don't know if we could have had a conversation like that. But Anyway, I guess I'll just close out the show with my final thoughts. First off, appreciate everyone in the chat. We consistently had around like 50 to 60 people here the entire time. It's probably the biggest, at least in terms of live viewers, the biggest show in terms of live viewers since probably the Rutgers, after they beat Rutgers, which was like back in December. Season just started. I think people were just really excited. It was a blowout game, whatever. But it's kind of surprising that was probably the biggest one. But even bigger than the one against Northwestern the other night. But yeah, appreciate y'all for being here. And if you're new here, a Illini fan, even if you're a Purdue fan and you like the Cubs, especially if you like the Cubs, hit the subscribe button. And I'll be doing a lot more baseball Cubs content on my channel come the season. So I appreciate y'all for hanging out. But I just want to close the show by I think I was kind of like what I was saying to Braggs earlier. I think they can win based off the guard play. I think if Illinois wins the guard battle, I think they can win the game. I think Edey is going to get what Edey gets. And they're just going to have to try and do their best to stay out of foul trouble. And the way that Braggs kind of put it makes me weary of that happening. If Illinois gets in foul trouble, then yeah, I think Purdue covers the 9.5. If they do get in foul trouble, I think they can cover that 9.5 fairly easy. Because I just do not think that they're deep enough without Terrence Shannon Jr. If they had Terrence Shannon Jr., you could put Luke Goody back on the bench, and you got Luke Goody, Justin Harmon, Dane Danger, and Dre Gibbs Lawhorn off the bench, on top of Hansberry as well. I know 3 of those 5 I mentioned don't get a lot of playing time anyway, but they're at least bodies. With Terrence Shannon Jr. out, that takes away 5 fouls that you can use, right? So, and scoring, obviously. So I think that Illinois got to do their best to stay out of foul trouble. They did that pretty well against Northwestern and FDU the other night. Obviously, those teams are not Purdue, so how much I can take from that, I don't know. But I think that if Illinois can win the battle against the guards, if Ty Rodgers, Marcus Damask, and basically those two, because they're not. I don't even think they would be playing like point guard, shooting guard on different teams. But they play those 2 positions for Illinois. But if those 2 guys and Luke Goody, I guess, if those guys can produce at well enough to keep up with the guards for Purdue, I think Illinois can win. Goody's got to make threes. That's basically his role, is play defense and hit threes. Damask has got to be able to get inside, hit that 10 to 15-foot jumper that he makes, take guys into the post like he did. They're calling it booty ball right now in Champaign. Him and Ty Rodgers should be able to do that against Purdue's guards, in my opinion. I think they should. I don't think they're going to be able to do it as easy as they did against Northwestern, but when they have those matchups, when they come down the court and they're able to go straight to the post or run some sort of play to get those guys in the post, they got to take advantage of it. So I think Coleman Hawkins is kind of the X factor in this game. Coleman Hawkins, he has hit double-digit points the last 5 games. He's probably playing the best basketball of his career at Illinois right now. Undoubtedly playing the best basketball of his career right now at Illinois. Double-digit figures, double-digit points the last 5 games. He's been shooting the 3 well. He's been shooting it well off the pick and pop game. If he is able to bring Zach Edey out from the paint, I think that could bode well for against the team, as in against Illinois, a team that is one of the best rebounding teams in the country. So I think he's kind of the X factor in this game. So if he is able to not only stay on the court because he's staying out of foul trouble, but also score and impact the game defensively, I think Illinois wins, or at least is in the game. You know I'm going to do it. I think Illinois will win tomorrow. I'm just going to say it. They're going to win tomorrow. It's completely disrespectful that they're 9.5, 10.5, whatever it is. The fact that Vegas thinks that Purdue's winning by 10 points against this Illinois team. I don't get it. I don't get it. Maybe it's because it's a road game and it's hard to play at Mackey Arena. I won't deny that at all, right? I just think that's disrespectful based off how Illinois has played since December 1st. And I know most of those games had Terrence Shannon Jr. on there, but I don't understand 9.5, 10.5 points. So I think they can at least be in this game by the end. But if those things that I said happen, they can win. So I'm going to talk myself into that all happening tomorrow because that's what I do. All right. I am not underestimating Braden Smith. I understand that he is good, Andy. Let's see. What else? What other moments and things in the chat here? Y'all just yelling at each other all night. Appreciate y'all for being here, though. I guess I thought there was another comment that I wanted to read and I forgot about it. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, y'all appreciate y'all. And live stream tomorrow during the game right here on my YouTube channel and then post game right after the game. So hit the subscribe button if you give a shit about that. I will see y'all tomorrow. Have a blessed night. Unless you're a Purdue fan, which I see y'all still here. Go Cubs to you guys and ILL to the rest of y'all. All right. Bye.